When you partner with Axon, you immediately gain access to a full range of products and solutions designed to meet the complex needs of today's grower. We carry all major brands and sizes of tires and wheels. We specialize in large diameter wheels for large equipment. We have one of the largest OEM replacement wheel inventories in North America. Known for extreme flotation setups, duals, and triples, we have wheels for all makes and models of tractors, sprayers, combines, and grain carts. If we don't have the wheel in stock, we'll custom build, sandblast, and paint in-house. There isn't a more vast inventory in North America dedicated to helping dealers move more iron. With facilities on the West Coast and in the heart of the Midwest, leverage our 230,000 square feet of indoor inventory to solve any problem a grower may have. Move more iron with Axon.
Moving iron.
Hello and welcome to Moving Iron Podcast. This edition of the Moving Iron Podcast is brought to you by Axon Tire, helping dealers move more iron for the past 100 years. I've got Roy Diener and Stephen. I forget your last name, Stephen. I apologize.
Schumacher.
All right. So I got Roy and Stephen here, and Roy, it's been a pretty quiet planting season. I mean, busy, typical busyness of planting season, but it's not been one of those bang your head against the wall to try to get the crops in. So what's been going on at Axon right now? What are you guys seeing out there as you talk to your customer base?
Yeah, we've appreciate you inviting us on first off again. It's always a pleasure working with you, Casey, and
love having you
having the experience and time. What we're kind of going to, we're seeing in, like Montana area, and we were up there a few weeks ago, and they we're fighting with a late snow, but I think they were getting into the field and it was allowing them to get into the field, and then the weather was working with them a bit. California's been fighting their water issues as they've been going on through the time. And then kind of down in the Ohio Valley, there's a bit of water, but overall, I think planting has been very kind to the farmers this year and permitting them to get into the field, permitting them to get into the field and allowing them to actually get out there and get the crop in. Down south, Texas area, just because I'm from down there, crop's up quite a ways. It's out of the ground. And then when you get into Iowa here, you can start seeing some green sprouts coming out of the ground. So I think overall it's been a good year. I think everybody's a little cautious as to yields and possibly market value, but I think everybody's optimistic about that every year. So
yeah,
here's hoping it'll be a good one.
Yep. So Stephen, you cover the northern part of the United States. What was it? North and South Dakota, Minnesota, up and through Canada. Is that kind of the area you cover?
Yeah, that's correct. And so it is quite varied. From the like southern Minnesota as their last week, they were anywhere from 85% complete. Now I'm in western North Dakota here this week, and they're barely getting in the field. So they're behind a couple weeks in western North Dakota. They've had consistent moisture, so it's kept them just when they're ready to go. They're forced to pull back and hold back, I should say. Now, what's interesting across the border up in Saskatchewan, Alberta, I was there 3 weeks ago, and they're actually dry. So they're ahead of the game in terms of their planting goes, but they actually need moisture in the Saskatchewan area particularly.
Yep.
And the east side over in Ontario, as they're 2 weeks ago, they're doing they're on schedule. They're on schedule there. On schedule. So it's quite varied. Overall, I guess what? In 2 weeks, close to the first week in June, everybody will be set
Yep.
And
Yep.
but there's optimism. Put it this way, there's pent up activity, a pent up desire, pent up optimism. And because it's been a long winter season, not brutally cold, just long.
Yep. Yeah, we had that same weather pattern, over here in the Panhandle, Nebraska, and we kind of had that same thing go where winter started pretty much in October, and it stayed till last week. It felt like. So I mean, we just had a tough, cold, long winter, and I'd say for us, we had a lot of snow out of the deal, but we were so dry that the snow that we did get didn't really amount to much. So unfortunately, we didn't get much out of that. We did get an incredible amount of rain last week. Last week I think we got close to 6 or 7 inches of rain, depending on where you're at, and so that put us in a good position. We got a few showers this week too. So the last 2 weeks we might be close to 9 inches of rain. I have to go back and look at totals, but it's a fair amount of rain came through, and that I think I can say that for about anybody in the West. I felt like had a lot of rain come through a lot of these drought-stricken areas. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. If this was just our drink for the year, and hopefully we get some more of that. But you never know. I hear it could be 6 inches and done for the year, and watching stuff get planted in our area. I'd say that we're probably not quite 50% done. It would be my guess. A lot of field work still being done, and a lot of guys in the field now, but everyone's pretty much planting full time now. There's not a lot of other things happening. So we'll be seeing some remarkable amount of time get covered here when you start looking at how soon and fast stuff gets planted now that things are kind of broke loose back open here, and especially with this moisture that we just had. So we'll have a good scenario to plan into. So I mean, as you guys, both of you, we'll start with you first. As you're looking at what's happening in Texas right now, so you're seeing a lot of different factors come into play. Texas and Florida are two of the fastest growing states in the country right now, and you're starting to see a lot of things happening there, I guess. So as you're looking at what's going on in Texas, what are you seeing right now with your customer base, and what's changed, if anything, from kind of a year over year, or just maybe some of the feel of the customers that you're working with?
Yeah, no. So you got a lot of urban growth that's happening, and it's making farmland less and less around those areas. I think the biggest thing that we've got going on down there in Texas is farmers getting more concerned. In previous years back, land was plentiful and you had space to go, and it didn't matter if it didn't come up here. We worked over there, and it's just different areas got different yields. And now farmers are starting to concentrate more on worrying about their yields and starting to pay attention to compaction and things that we may not have had to in the past, to try and get the same quantity of or same results at the end of the season.
Yeah.
Just due to the urban growth and lack of farmland to turn over. There is certain areas of Texas that is not plantable, and harvest is, you don't get much out of certain areas either, even planted areas. So it's unique, and as big as it is, you find the soil changes quite a bit from side to side or top to bottom, however you want to look at it.
Yeah.
And then, Florida, the same thing. I think those guys down there seeing a lot of urban growth, but they're just getting more strategic on what they plant and seeing how they can get more out of what they do have, and trying to get keep the production up is the biggest game that they're playing in the farming industry, I feel like, in those areas.
Yeah. And one thing about those areas too, you talk about tire technology becoming important when you're looking at the distance now between fields that some of these guys are going to be traveling, just because of housing developments and those kind of things that are popping up from around, different areas that they're working through. You start looking at the size of some of these machines and then trying to narrow them up enough to where they can still have the footprint they need and still have the traction that they need. It's getting to be a bigger deal. So I thought, made me think of this the other day. We were driving down the road and there was a guy in some kind of 4-wheel drive. I don't remember what it was, but it was, dualed up 800s on it, and pulling a planter down the road, and or an air seeder. It was an air seeder. Pulling an air. No, it was a planter. It was a planter down the road, and I just thought to myself, like, we're lucky we live where we live, because that particular setup in a very busy metropolitan area, even if you were, 25, 30 miles on the outside of a major metropolitan area, that machine would have a hard time operating just because of the amount of traffic in the area. So what are some of the things that you see happening in some of those more metropolitan areas where the population sprawl, of lack of a better term, has kind of congested some more of these old country roads that didn't used to be nearly as busy as they are today?
Yeah, so from the tire side, what we're seeing a lot more is guys, that's what, I was kind of alluding to before, is compaction. So guys are worried about that and paying attention to a little bit more of that. So you're getting guys that are doing more of the IF and the VF stuff.
Sure.
Because what that does is allows you to carry the same amount of weight, lowering the air pressure, and also gives you a heavier load carrying capacity tire. So like you were saying, you were seeing a machine with 800 duals. Well, maybe they go to a wider tire, but only singles.
Right.
And with the VF technology, that keeps their load carrying capacity up. Because these machines are getting heavier, and they're more concerned, when they're doing the roading. One of the biggest things that we in the tire industry battle with roading is it builds up heat, and heat does nothing really good for any rubber product in the main. Dissipating that heat in any way is always a good thing. And so, that works down sometimes to our favor, but we're mostly looking for solutions and helping these guys create solutions as they go, narrowing things up. But keeping that tire with this good load carrying capacity so it can handle the machine weight, because they are getting bigger. So we've got a bit of a project on our hands trying to keep up with all these different changes in the industry, because every manufacturer, whether it's implement or machine manufacturer, seem to be making changes all the time, which is good. It just keeps us on our toes.
Sure. Yeah, it's makes you think about what's going on around you, for sure. Definitely. So, Stephen, a little different opportunity up where you're at. There's still some metropolitan areas up there, some bigger spaces, but there's still a lot of wide open space. So I guess working with your customers, what are you seeing up there, and what's changed over the last year or two that you've noticed?
Well, certainly in the breadbasket, in other words, the Saskatchewan and Alberta, Manitoba, they have free range. So they're really outfitting their equipment with knowing that they have plenty of space there. So they're really not having to navigate any tight areas, or there are fields that it's like looking at an ocean of open, they have sections connected with each other. Of course, over in Ontario, Quebec, they're more hobby farm. It's not it's rare probably to see anything more than a couple of quarters next to each other. So they're pretty tight, and the how they're outfitted on the east side over there is quite a bit different. Don't see very many duals at the most. Triples, no. Duals at the most on the east side. Triples pretty common. Tracks, of course, pretty common in the in the breadbasket part of Canada. And when I say Canada, it could be North Dakota bordering it as well. So it they're outfitting. They're getting footed, I should say, according to their area mass that they're working with. But what I've noticed is that they're very, in both cases, extremely conscientious, and so my Dakota and Minnesota farmers are that way too. Extremely conscientious, very, I tell you, well kept, great stewards of the land. There's a lot of thought process that goes into the planning stages before they even hit the field. So, of course, this winter they had an extended amount of time to do that, the 6 months, whatever we had. So, when they finally get going, I tell you what, they push hard and day and night, and they'll get it done in 2 weeks. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, it doesn't take them very long to plant anymore. That's why it still blows my mind that the USDA, I mean, it's great that they track it, but that traders look at that and they're like, oh, we're so far behind. Oh my God, there's no way we're going to get this crop done. And then by Saturday, they're 5% above where they were when the week started. You know what I mean? So it's just, they can plant stuff really quick now and really get things pushing out there. With the spring,
and I think also they prep it in the fall.
Yeah.
To capture that pot, or to address that possibility of a late spring. So
Sure.
they manage as much as possible in the fall activity as well.
Yeah, that's true too. They do a really good job of managing what their field expectations are and doing the field work and those kind of things. Keep things where they need to be at for the spring. That's for sure. You take a look at what's going on, Stephen, with spring wheat and canola and those kind of things up in your area. Completely different kind of a look and feel than what the Midwest sees when it comes to row crop and those kind of things.
Mm-hmm.
Looking at your equipment that you see there, what are some of the adjustments that you see guys making right now on some of these bigger air seeders and those kind of things that are helping them with the things we've been talking about here, whether it's compaction or more ability to narrow things up and create greater loads on a smaller frame?
Well, you're right. I think they're slowing it down a little bit. They're being more conscientious of the effectiveness that they get once they're in the field. So, in terms of addressing it equipment wise, they'll cover the patch, but I think they'll slow it down somewhat. They'll just be more diligent in their path and make sure that they get solid coverage without any errors. The last thing they want to do is come back and address it a second time. That's for sure.
Sure. Yeah.
And you're right. With the wheat or canola, barley, corn. I mean, that's 75% of their, in Canada, that's 75% of their revenue generating ag up there. The other 25% would be specialty crops and vegetables, alfalfa. But so you're right. I mean, the oil seeds and the small grains, that's just a tremendous concern, or I should say consideration that they put in that.
Yeah.
So equipment wise, I tell you, the investments, they make the investments accordingly. They're not shy. No doubt about that.
Yeah, that's one thing farmers enjoy doing is buying equipment. That's one of their favorite things to do. So there's no doubt about that they're keeping up on that stuff. Roy, as you take a look at what's going on with all your sales staff and you see things out there, is there anything that's jumping out to you that say, hey man, this is way different than we thought? Or is there I guess the question I should be asking is, with supply constraints, is there something different that's kind of filling that void that's jumping out at you? It's like, I didn't see this coming.
Not really. We're seeing a lot more, the lead times come way down, which is good in some aspects and different in others.
Sure.
What we're seeing is we had purchased quite a bit coming up to the year in anticipation of long lead times, and a lot of that got delivered sooner than we thought, which is good. But having stuff available for the customers turned out to be a good thing this year for us. The constraint that we're having is the timing of the machines coming out of the manufacturing plants. Some guys are thinking they're still getting them at certain points and then they don't show up. But then other guys are like, hey, didn't know this was coming. It's showing up now. send me my stuff because we got to change it out.
Yeah.
And the farmer wants his machine and equipment. So as that goes, we're just trying to mitigate the downfall of the customer being the implement dealer on our side as much as we can by planning as much as we can. And some of that's limited. So we're doing what we can. That's the constraint we're seeing this year big time. And again, tires and wheels are always a integral part of the machine. Like Steven said, these guys aren't shy to pull the trigger, but it is a big investment. And so they're trying to make sure the shoes that they got on the machine are well fitted. And
Sure.
that's always key for us, is to help them understand that we're here to create the solution to make that big investment that they did make worthwhile. And so, yeah, no, production's been up. As far as tires go, we're well caught up. So we're not seeing much on that side right now. So I really don't have much on the way of speaking like we were a year ago. I think we weren't saying the same thing. I can assure you that we were not.
Yeah, it's amazing how fast it came back. You know what I mean? It was like we went from being, oh man, we don't know when we're gonna get this, to we thought we were getting this in 6 months or 9 months or a year, and we got it in 3 months. And even the manufacturers are surprised that they're able to generate the things as fast as they thought they could. So we're still seeing some delay. I mean, don't get me wrong, there's still some delays out there, and there's still, whatever that's holding up something, but it really was and is surprising to me how fast the stuff's coming back, and how fast production's getting ramped back up, and how fast how lead times, how much they've narrowed over this since the first of the year, this first 6 months of the year. So it makes me kind of feel like maybe by 24 we'll be back to quote unquote normal again, and we'll see what that looks like, I guess.
Yeah, and it's unique. What we're seeing now is guys are catching up with inventory and production. So I think this is also time manufacturers are starting to say, all right, well, we've got inventory sorted out and we've got production sorted out. So I think the real change in any industry is going to be coming now, because these guys are going to be having to start thinking about their technologies. And that goes the same with tires and wheels. These guys are like, okay, we've got that headache out of the way. Now let's see what we can focus on to, make our tires better, do this different. And there's just things like that. So I think we're going to start seeing some of those changes come down the pipeline eventually too.
I think so too. You seeing some similar in your area too, where lead times are starting to really, with the dealers that you're working with, Steven, where you're starting to see more equipment on the lots than you saw maybe a year ago?
Yeah, absolutely. Matter of fact, it rarely becomes a conversation where the dealer reps, whatever, where they are agonizing over availability of equipment or the shipment of the equipment. It's coming in at a pace that they're able to move it. So they're really it's not near a concern on occasion. Yeah. But those are still leftover headaches, I think, from before. So, but for the most part, the equipment that they're anticipating getting, they are getting in a timely fashion.
Yeah.
And so it's no longer it's no longer a sticky point for them, or an excuse for them, whatever. But so they're pretty pleased. I think that's not an issue for them.
Yeah, right on. Okay. Sounds like you guys are seeing the same things I'm seeing, so I'm not on an island. So things are going.
That's always a good feeling, ain't it, Casey?
It is. It really is. All right. Let's talk about what the giveaway is for this week. Usually, this is where Paige shines, but she's not with us today. So, Roy, I guess you have the honors today.
Oh, I'll let you do it. I wasn't in on the secret. She said she sent it to you, so I'm going to let you do it.
All right. So this week, or this month anyway, if you go to, I guess if you send an email to marketing@axontire.com, you'll get get something pretty cool here, and I'll share my screen here so everybody can see what that looks like. And you get this right here. You get this nice Axon Stanley tumbler, insulated cup. And I think that might be one I might actually send one in and get my name put on one of those. You never can have too many of those. That's what I always say.
Nope.
I enjoy a nice cup like that. So that's what it is. Send you an email to marketing@axontire.com with your details, and get one of those sent over to you in the mail there as fast as they can get it over to you. So Roy or Steven, either one of you guys got anything you want to throw out there before we shut things down?
No, the only thing I would say is put a plug in for Casey. Come see us at Moving Iron Summit. The end of this, well, not at the end of the year, but third quarter. It's always a good event. Casey does a lot of good work. We're going to be there. We're sponsoring a bit of it. Always happy to do that. Good clientele is there. Looking forward to seeing anybody that's coming. It's always a good time.
Yep.
So,
well, look for
and
you guys.
I have been promoting it. So the event, I've been promoting it with a flyer that I carry on me from time to time. So it's we appreciate the association with you, Casey. It's a very worthy and a very comparable we complement each other, I should say, very well. Appreciate that.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you guys being part of it, and you guys have been a good sponsor of mine for almost 3 years now. So it's been a really good thing. I really enjoyed doing it. So another thing too, if you go to the website and you sign up, make sure you be one of the first 150 people to do that, and you'll get yourself a $50 discount from the folks over at Axon. So that's another good reason to go check that out too. So send an email to marketing to get the at marketing@axontire.com to get the insulated cup, and send me an email at MovingIronPodcast at MovingIronPodcast.com if you have any questions about the Moving Iron Summit. But if you don't, just take advantage of that $50 discount. So Roy, folks want to reach out to you, what's the best way to do that?
You can reach out to us. You go to our website at axontire.com, or you can email us at sales@axontire.com, or you can call our 800 number, 888-980-1208. It's the best way to get hold of us.
Well, guys, I appreciate you being on, and I appreciate the partnership here.
Thank you, Casey. Good to be with you.
Right on. Okay, I'm Casey Seymour with Moving Iron Podcast. Check me out on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Moving Iron LLC. Go to LinkedIn at Moving Iron Podcast. Go over to the YouTube channel, see the video version of this, and you can do that at the Moving Iron Podcast YouTube channel. And you can go to MovingIronLLC.com for anything Moving Iron related, and sign up for the Moving Iron Summit there as well. It's September 11th through the 13th in Nashville, Tennessee. So with that, I'm Casey Seymour with Roy and Steven. Let's move some iron, folks. Out.
Moving iron in the 21st century. Hard-working people working hard for you and me. Moving iron time and time again. Through the years you'll find us here.